Hi, everyone. How's everyone doing? Welcome to Mentorship and Me. So I'm going to start this presentation the way I started my 8th grade graduation speech. Are we having fun yet at work yet? Hello, yeah. That was definitely better reception than my 8th grade crowd, so thank you, I appreciate that. So my name is Anjuli Sastry, and I am a producer on It's Been a Minute with Sam Sanders. It's a twice-weekly podcast and weekend radio show about focusing on news and culture and conversations with people of the moment. And on the day-to-day job, I'm recording interviews, cutting tape, booking guests, writing scripts, planning breaking news and long-term coverage. Also recording the voices of plants sometimes. That's actually me on assignment in Mexico, field producing a story involving a produce company there. But today I'm going to talk about something that's really important to me, mentorship. So I recently co-founded a Women of Color mentorship program at NPR, and today you're going to learn some best practices for being a mentor or a mentee wherever you're in your career through tips and a couple anecdotes. And also more on starting a program if you want to do that in your organization. Sometimes mentorship is really important to actually getting a job, but it's something that we don't really talk about, and it's very simple, so that's why I wanted to share some best practices with you today. If you'd like, you can tweet at me during the presentation. I'm going to be honest, I'm not great at Twitter, but feel free to reach out, and I'll get at you after the presentation. So a little bit on how this program got started. I don't think it's any secret that a lot of the newsrooms around this country are white and male, and I don't think that's just anecdotal. A Pew Research Center study recently found that newsroom employees are more likely to be white and male than all US workers. And so we saw that in our newsroom, and that sort of inspired us to found a program or start a program around mentorship, because there's a lot of informal mentorship that often takes place between the same kinds of people. And we kept hearing that, and we decided to take back that space and create a formal mentorship program for women of color in our organization. These are people who often need mentorship, but are afraid to ask, and they don't often see themselves in leadership positions and see people who look like them. Like other news organizations, NPR has struggled to retain people of color. So we thought, what if women of color could talk about why they couldn't stay in these organizations? What if they could talk about microaggressions they were dealing with on a day-to-day basis? I mean, I've been there. I've been confused for another brown person in the newsroom. That's happened a number of times. What about work-life balance? What about being the only person who looks like you on a team? So we wanted to take that space back and create a safe space for community, connection, and also joy and uplift that didn't already exist at NPR. And as a lot of people have told me, mentoring women of color is necessary to diversify the newsroom, and that really matters. So a little bit about how we did this, but first I want to shout out my co-founders who couldn't be here today. From the right to the left, obviously that's me. That's Mallory Yu, an editor on All Things Considered, NPR's flagship news magazine show. Christina Kalla, a producer on All Things Considered, and Kat Chow, a former reporter on Code Switch. What we were doing was really hard because it didn't already exist at NPR. We were working from scratch. There were a lot of weekends and late nights, volunteer time, pairing up mentors and mentees, and sort of figuring out what people really wanted. I want to shout out the Online News Association's Mentorship Collaborative. They actually trained us and other journalists to start mentorship programs in newsrooms nationwide. So this is something you can apply to if you're interested in it. I would encourage you to Google it. But we got a $5,000 grant from the Online News Association, and also training on how to then, in turn, train mentors and mentees on how to be better within our program. So this money kicked off the program, and it actually gave us courage to ask for funding from NPR leadership. And so also ask for long-term institutionalized support. Also, there were other resources that I need to shout out inside NPR, including the Senior VP for Diversity, Keith Woods. There was a company-wide general mentorship program happening at the same time, coincidentally, so we continue to collaborate on events. And also buy-in from senior leadership, which it took a while, and we fought for all these things, and also to be seen and to be heard. It really wasn't easy. So I will tell you a little bit about the structure of the program really quick. The program breaks down with one-on-one pairs or two-on-one pairs who meet formally for 4 to 6 months. And they have the option to continue informally after that. There are 100 women of color within the program that we've served so far within 2 cohorts. And they're, just for context and reference, there's about 1,000 people or more than 1,000 people who work at NPR right now. And these women come from all across departments at NPR: news, administration, operations, IT, so it's not just podcasting or journalism. So that's another thing, is it's really brought people together from different parts of the organization. Also, pairs meet monthly via video or phone. Like I myself, I'm bi-coastal, I'm based in LA, so my mentors are often in other places, but also in person, of course. We have monthly brown bags, so some of that funding that I mentioned earlier, it goes toward putting on these brown bags with industry experts. We have a biannual speaker symposium, and we also fund conference scholarships for women of color who may not have ever been to a conference in the entirety of their career. So that's a little bit about the program. I'd like to know more about you. So, show of hands, how many of you, your boss has like come up to you at the end of the day, you're about to leave, but he or she or they are like, there's a project for you right now, but you don't know who to ask, or you didn't have anyone in mind to ask? Raise your hands. Have you ever been in that position? Okay, I see a couple of you. Have you ever wanted to make the career leap to a different industry? Anyone? Anyone in the audience? Okay. Okay, do you remember your first day on the job and you were asked to shadow someone informally to like figure out the job? I mean, I was there, for sure. Andrea's shoe. She was mine. Did anyone else have someone they shadowed on the first day on the job? Okay, thank you. You probably saw this coming, but you've already been a mentee. Whether it was informally or formally, you've been there. So I want to share a story with you.
My name is Christina Kalla, and having a mentor, or another way of saying it, being a mentee, has really helped me with my confidence and with getting a sense of what it is that I want to do next. The other way being a mentee has been really rewarding is just in getting ideas for different things to ask for or different opportunities to try, whether it is something like a reporting trip or something like grabbing coffee with a reporter or another producer whose work I really admire.
So that all probably seems really simple, and you're like, wait, Christina co-founded this program, like why is she a mentee? But we really felt that it was important to put ourselves in the program, and it didn't matter really what stage you might be in, that you would still need a mentor. And she has her own mentors, just like I do, who gave her the confidence to get feedback and also achieve her goals. So before talking about how to be a good mentee, what about finding a mentor? So I'm gonna give you some homework. I know it says that you should tell the person sitting next to you, but I'm gonna give you some homework while you're at Work It. I know some of you are in the Work It mentorship program, and I'd encourage you to share a short-term 3-month professional goal, like in the next 3 months, something you wanna accomplish. Short-term professional goal with your mentor who might be in the Work It program with you. If you don't have a mentor today, if there's someone else in your life that you trust, that you want to share this goal with, I really encourage you to. I think the speaker before me went over SMART goals. This is also a tip sheet that we sent out to you all beforehand in your welcome email. So use those to develop some of the goals that will help you keep what you want out of your mentorship on track. That will really help you. So next, part of choosing a mentor, you really have to think about who you want to be in the next 5, 10, 15 years. If you want to keep it simple and stick with short term, go ahead and do that. Are there specific people you look up to? Make a list and keep track of it. Is there a particular position that you want to be in? Take note of that right now. Sometimes we tend to think about these things like informally, maybe you're driving, sitting in traffic. I know I've been there and I've had these conversations with myself, but really write it down so that you can sort of become intentional about that. Maybe you want to consider an identity-based mentor. Think about what's right for you. The other huge part of this is making the ask, which is really daunting. I could do a whole presentation about this. There are a lot of resources in those tip sheets that I mentioned earlier that we sent out. I'll just go over a couple things. Think about if someone like a boss in your network or someone else within the networking that you do today could put you in touch with that person that you want to be your mentor. If you're cold emailing, I know I've been there, I've gotten a ton of cold emails, show you've done the work. Like what specifically about that mentor, a prospective mentor's work, have you done research on that would make them know that you're willing to invest the time in, because you invested the time in them. Also, don't ask right away because there's a reason informational interviews exist. It's to feel each other out. So reach out to them, ask for that informational interview, but when you're doing it, mention the goals that I just talked about and how the specific expertise of that person can help you, and use examples. There's really so much more to say. I could go on, but I'm limited. So please refer to those tip sheets or email or tweet at me. The other thing I want to make is the distinction between a mentor versus a sponsor. So a mentor gives advice, but doesn't get you that job or raise or promotion. A sponsor does that. So it could be a boss, a sponsor could be a boss, a recruiter, or even an employer in a new industry, but don't expect your mentors to be sponsors or to get you that job. But mentors can put you in touch with those people, with those sponsors. So, some best practices on being a mentee. So, goals, 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 goals. This is literally what I harp all the time. But goals matter to what you'll be accomplishing in your time together, so really use those SMART Goals tip sheet, the SMART Goals tip sheet that we passed out. That'll really help you. In terms of meetings, I would recommend monthly meetings in person or via video especially if you're meeting for the first time and aren't based in the same place, and phone only once you're comfortable, but that should be something that you agree on ahead of time. I just love agendas, and this can be as formal and comprehensive as you want it to be. It could be an email where you just tell your mentor what you want to talk about ahead of time. It can be 2 points. It can be a piece you want to read together. It just helps you be intentional, and then it also helps your mentor prep and figure out what you need and how they can help you. This is also a no-brainer, but it helps you keep on track, asking specific questions about your work, and stay on time. So this one's really funny because I was gonna open the bullet point by saying constructive criticism is really hard to hear, but you need to go to your meetings with an open mind and be okay with hearing hard things, but also take a compliment. You guys are doing hard work. You're trying to make it in an industry, and it's not easy, and so if someone's gonna give you a compliment, take it. I know I was raised on compliments aren't real, and my parents were like, be dubious, because the people don't really mean it. But they mean it, you deserve to be here, take that compliment. And that's something actually my mentee from the Work It program mentioned to me during lunch, so I thought I'd bring that up with you guys. Respect your mentor's time, don't go over. I think that's also pretty self-explanatory, but sometimes we forget that. Take notes so that they don't have to, so that you can follow up. I think following up is just so important so that they don't forget you, because they probably have a busy life, work and personally. If my mentor is really busy, I usually send a follow-up with notes after the session. And the final thing I'd say about being a good mentee is it's not a therapy session, there are boundaries, but we're human. That's a part of life. You're gonna be dealing with handling your personal work-life balance. It's just gonna come up. And recently, I'll share another story. My mentor opened up the top of our session with some personal stuff, and she apologized. She was literally like, this isn't therapy, but I really need to talk about this. But it put me at ease, so for next time, I'll be okay to vent too, but just don't monopolize, or try not to monopolize the session with that stuff, and be on the same page if your mentor is okay talking personal stuff from the start. Okay. Back to you. So, How many of you have been sent a resume to edit or for a position in your organization? A cover letter? Anything like that? Okay, a couple of you. Did you ever tell someone to take a self-care day? Yeah, on someone's first day on the job, did you show someone the ropes? Were you the person that was shadowed? Yeah, cool. Okay, so there are quite a number of hands in this room. You have done it. You have been a mentor. Thank you for mentoring. You might have done it informally or formally, but again, you've done it. So I want to share another story.
Mentoring doesn't always mean that the person that you're mentoring will end up helping to run the company. I mean, that's a nice thing if it works. Maybe what happens is your person realizes, this is interesting, but it's not my dream. And I really want to follow my dream. Can you help me do that? And so you may mentor your mentee right out of an NPR job, but that's okay, because people should be allowed to go do what they think they're best at, where they want to do it.
So that's right, Karen's getting real here. So people leave jobs. It's a part of life. That's not breaking news. And I think mentors can help with that. Just be really upfront if that's what you want, and they'll tell you whether they're the right person to help. And shout out to Karen, who mentored in our program recently, and she's been an informal mentor of mine. I think she might be in the audience today, so thank you, Karen. I really appreciate you. So, being a good mentor. I think a lot of this will be a refresher, but I'm always about being intentional about some of the best practices, so I'll just go over it with some of you. Mentors, you're busy, so you have the power to set the meetings. What works for you? Put it on the calendar, share it with the mentee. Make time to prep and go over those agendas before the meetings. I think that's really important, instead of scrambling right before. If you set some time earlier in the week, maybe put that on your calendar too. Again, I'm really type A, so that's just the kind of thing I do. But if you need to put it on the calendar, go ahead and do that so you can prep for the meeting. You're allowed to give homework. One of my mentors, I wanted to ask for a raise last year, and she encouraged me after talking about it in our session. That was one of my goals. It was my short-term goal, and she encouraged me to do the market research about the number that I should ask for. She also told me that I should write an essay listing out the reasons why I deserve that promotion, and she edited that essay over the course of the several months that we were meeting, or it was a couple months. And I actually submitted that essay to my boss with her help, and I got that raise. So I have her to thank for that. So homework matters. Don't reschedule. The meetings are on the calendar for a reason. You're gonna fall behind and set a bad precedent, so try not to reschedule. I think this is something we do a lot. We do a lot of informal helping and shadowing or letting people shadow, and also giving advice in free time. I think you should be open with your supervisor if you're doing something like this, especially if it's gonna be on work time, and also because it's something to be really proud of, because you are giving back. It's okay not to know all the answers. Be honest with what you can provide and can't. Feel free to point them to another person if that's the case. I've definitely been there, and I've been very clear with mentees about that. Again, sponsorship, you can point them to another sponsor, but you don't have to be that sponsor, so don't feel that pressure. It's 2019, I just told you to tweet at me during this presentation, but during mentorship meetings, try to avoid that Slack, the email, put the phone on Do Not Disturb. Finally, agree on an action plan to follow up. It's just so important to do that. I'll leave you with a couple final things. Mutual mentorships exist. There are a number within our program. One example was a reporter in the program and a corporate sponsorship employee who were in lateral roles, and they actually learned about each other's jobs and different skill sets, and also to see things from a different point of view in the organization, and they sort of shadowed each other. Also, imposter syndrome, that's also real. I've been there, but take note, I saw a lot of you raising hands in the audience about some of the informal mentorship that you might have been doing. You probably have already been asked to step up in ways that you didn't really expect. And you can be a mentor and a mentee at the same time, no matter what part of your career you're in. And I just keep saying that because you should take hold of what you've learned from past mentors and pay it forward. When you finish up formally, you can keep the mentorship going informally, but figure out if that's what you both want. Like, I have a board of director mentors, which is basically like people I don't meet with formally once a month, but I'll call if I'm going through a situation, and there's like 4 to 5 people on my board of director mentors. But also, mentorships end. Like, not all mentorships work out. That's also part of life. I think you can say that and be honest. Maybe it's something that they're feeling too. I'm a very extroverted, introvert personality, and I think I haven't necessarily matched up with someone, like I have been matched up with mentors that didn't really work out, and I've been honest with them about that, or they've been honest with me, and we still have a relationship, but it just didn't work as a mentor-mentee relationship. Which brings me to my final point, that we all have limits. You need to take care of yourself, hashtag self-care. That's also really self-explanatory, but maybe it means taking a break from being a mentor or mentee for a while, only during mentoring or menteeing sessions during work hours, taking a personal day, delegating tasks, talking about professional stuff during sessions only. You just have to set the tone from the start. It's all for you. I'm happy to be a resource. If you're looking to start your own formal mentorship program, feel free to reach out to me. Shout out to the Work It Mentorship Program. I hope you found some of these tips useful to be able to use. Refer to those tip sheets I mentioned. Also, I couldn't cover everything here, so feel free to reach out to talk more. So, thank you.